my relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, like, I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
So it's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much.
What happens when Hollywood's golden couple, the duo everyone adores, suddenly finds themselves on opposite sides of a courtroom battle? For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were the picture of red carpet perfection. Witty banter, adoring glances, a seemingly unbreakable bond. They were the couple everyone envied, their lives a highlight reel of glamour and success. But behind the dazzling smiles and carefully curated public image, a storm of conflict was brewing, a hidden tension that was about to explode and shatter their carefully constructed world.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
The first subtle tremors in the seemingly unshakable foundation of their Hollywood dynasty began with Blake Lively's ambitious new project, bringing Colleen Hoover's deeply beloved novel, It Ends With Us, to the silver screen. This wasn't just another acting gig for Lively, it was a passion project where she was taking on significant creative control, eager to translate the novel's emotional depth and complex characters to film. To direct this delicate undertaking, she brought in Justin Baldoni, a filmmaker known for his sensitive and heartfelt storytelling, seemingly a perfect match on paper. However, from the outset, a fundamental divergence in creative vision began to emerge, a subtle but persistent undercurrent of disagreement. Lively, with her keen eye for modern trends and a flair for comedic timing, reportedly envisioned a contemporary adaptation, perhaps even leaning into a lighter, more accessible tone, infused with the high-fashion glamour she embodies. Baldoni, on the other hand, deeply respectful of the source material and its devoted fan base, championed a more faithful and serious approach, determined to capture the raw emotionality and weighty themes at the heart of It Ends With Us. Initially, those close to the production downplayed these differences, dismissing them as the typical creative friction inherent in any film project, the usual push and pull between actor, director, and vision. But this was far from ordinary Hollywood maneuvering. This clash of styles was a deep-seated conflict that was about to erupt into a very public and intensely personal battleground.
I for sure fell short, and you worked really hard on that, and the way you framed it, and how that made you feel. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability, and I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel and share that with me. And I'm really sorry. I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail. I am far from perfect. I'm a very flawed man, as my wife will attest, and and I'm gonna f*** up. I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth. I'm gonna piss you off, probably, but I will always apologize.
As filming progressed, the creative tensions didn't dissipate, they intensified. Months into production, the simmering disagreements reached a critical mass, culminating in a dramatic and industry-shaking move by Blake Lively. She didn't just express private concerns, she launched a formal public complaint against Justin Baldoni, accusing him of systematically disregarding her creative input and undermining her vision for It Ends With Us. In her complaint, Lively positioned herself as a staunch defender of the novel's artistic integrity, arguing that Baldoni was prioritizing superficial elements, cheap laughs, and empty glitz, at the expense of the profound emotional core and complex themes that resonated so deeply with readers. She painted a picture of a director steamrolling her carefully considered ideas, ignoring her pleas for a more earnest and faithful tone, and ultimately betraying the spirit of the beloved book. Publicly, the initial reaction was overwhelmingly in Lively's favor. Fans, already deeply invested in It Ends With Us, rallied behind her, her, bolstered by her established reputation for professional integrity and her consistent advocacy for authentic storytelling and meaningful representation in Hollywood. It appeared to many as a classic David versus Goliath scenario, the beloved and respected actress courageously standing up against a director perceived as insensitive and creatively overreaching, fighting to protect the heart and soul of a story cherished by millions. But the narrative was far from settled. This was just the opening salvo in a much more complex and damaging conflict.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
Bombshell evidence and accusations of data manipulation emerge, just when it seemed the public narrative was firmly cemented in Lively's favor, and Justin Baldoni was facing a wave of criticism. The director dramatically retaliated, turning the tables in a way few had anticipated. Baldoni didn't simply issue a standard denial or a carefully worded PR statement. He launched a full-fledged defamation countersuit against Lively, accusing her of damaging his reputation and career with false accusations. And then he dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and legal circles alike. Baldoni claimed to possess irrefutable evidence that directly contradicted Lively's meticulously crafted version of events. He didn't just vaguely hint at inconsistencies. He specifically alleged that certain documents provided by Lively, crucial emails, text message exchanges, and official meeting minutes, did not align with the official production logs and timelines. The implication was staggering and deeply damaging. Baldoni strongly suggested that someone, potentially Lively or individuals acting on her behalf, might have manipulated or even fabricated data to bolster her claims and discredit him. Fabricating or altering evidence in a high-stakes legal battle. That's not just a professional misstep, it's a potentially career-ending gamble, a high-wire act with devastating consequences if exposed. Lively's legal team immediately dismissed Baldoni's accusations as a desperate and transparent attempt to deflect attention and muddy the waters, characterizing the alleged data anomalies as minor, inconsequential glitches. But the seed of doubt had been firmly planted in the public consciousness, and the dispute, already intensely captivating, was about to descend into an even darker and more contentious territory, moving beyond creative differences into the murky realm of potential legal misconduct.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does not wake you up. Whew. Wow. There's so much I want to say to you, and I hope that we can FaceTime or see each other in person soon and get to talk more. But I'm just gonna send you a few thoughts, and hopefully it's not gonna be more than a few minutes. But that I don't have the best track record. I don't think either one of us have the best track record for our voice memos. I want to start with an apology. Man, reading the second part of your message, my heart sank, and I'm really sorry.
The already explosive legal drama surrounding It Ends With Us took an even more unforeseen and sensational turn with the unexpected subpoena of Ryan Reynolds. Up until this critical juncture, Reynolds, a Hollywood powerhouse in his own right, had maintained a conspicuously neutral public stance, offering only general boilerplate support for his wife, carefully avoiding any detailed commentary on the specifics of the escalating conflict. But behind the scenes, in the hushed corridors of Hollywood power and the relentless churn of the rumor mill, whispers began to circulate. Persistent speculation suggesting that Reynolds, who had reportedly been privy to some of the pre-production script discussions and creative planning sessions, might possess a different perspective, a potentially conflicting account of events. The very notion that Ryan Reynolds, celebrated for his unwavering support of Blake Lively and their seemingly rock-solid marriage, might break ranks with his wife and offer testimony that could undermine her legal case seemed utterly unthinkable to many. Their meticulously crafted public image of social media adoration, constant playful banter, and unwavering mutual support was legendary, almost iconic in the celebrity landscape. Yet, as the legal battle intensified, reaching its most critical and potentially decisive stage, speculation grew into a fever pitch. Reynolds, it was rumored, had been called to testify, but how could he, a comedic actor with no official role in the production of It Ends With Us, offer any meaningful or legally relevant testimony? Then, the narrative shifted again, revealing a crucial piece of the puzzle. It emerged that Lively herself had, in fact, invited Reynolds to participate in multiple script discussions and creative planning sessions, apparently hoping that his renowned comedic expertise and sharp creative instincts would lend weight and credibility to her viewpoint regarding the film's direction. If Reynolds had indeed attended those pivotal meetings, his personal recollection of events, his direct observations of the creative dynamic between Lively and Baldoni could prove to be absolutely pivotal, potentially either affirming the veracity of Lively's claims or conversely challenging the very foundation of her narrative. And then the unbelievable became reality. Ryan Reynolds was officially subpoenaed to appear in court. He was going to take the stand, and in a move that stunned Hollywood and captivated the world, he was preparing to testify against his own
my real life
wife.
clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which
except
one?
it's just,
Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
And tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed it.
His suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
The day Ryan Reynolds arrived at the courthouse was nothing short of a media circus. News vans choked the streets, photographers jostled for prime position, the air thick with anticipation and the flash of cameras. But as Reynolds finally emerged from a black SUV, the playful smirk, the trademark twinkle in his eye, all were conspicuously absent. His expression was somber, almost grave, his demeanor reflecting the immense gravity of the situation. Inside the hushed courtroom, an almost palpable silence descended as Ryan Reynolds took the stand. His very presence felt surreal, almost dreamlike. One of Hollywood's most beloved and endearing personalities, now positioned as a key witness in a high-stakes legal battle that pitted his own wife against her co-star and director. Under oath, his voice measured and serious, Reynolds began his testimony cautiously, carefully establishing his minimal official role in the production of It Ends With Us, emphasizing that he was never formally part of the creative team. However, he unequivocally confirmed that Lively had, in fact, invited him to actively participate in pre-production discussions, specifically to weigh in on comedic segments and offer his insights on the film's overall tone. And then came the crux of his testimony, the moment that sent ripples of shock and disbelief through the courtroom. Reynolds recalled that during these meetings, Lively had openly and enthusiastically discussed comedic elements she wanted to incorporate into the film, even citing specific jokes and playful scenes she felt would resonate with viewers and enhance the narrative. He admitted to offering advice, albeit informally, on comedic timing and delivery, even pitching a few of his own ideas. Crucially and devastatingly for Lively's case, according to Reynolds' carefully articulated recollection, Lively and Baldoni initially appeared to be in agreement, collaborating harmoniously on the integration of comedic beats within the otherwise heavier themes of the film. He stated unequivocally that no tension, no overt disregard for Lively's creative input had registered in his memory at that time. A visible murmur rippled through the gallery of the courtroom. Reynolds, his face etched with visible conflict, then admitted that he had been deeply conflicted about testifying at all, torn between personal loyalty and a sense of moral obligation to present a candid and truthful account of what he had witnessed. He didn't explicitly elaborate on the precise source of this moral obligation, leaving it ambiguous whether it stemmed from newly revealed information about the alleged evidence manipulations or simply a deeply held personal belief in the paramount importance of telling the unvarnished truth regardless of personal consequences. What struck many observers most profoundly was Reynolds' remarkably calm yet intensely serious demeanor. Gone was any trace of the playful banter and lighthearted charm that usually defined his public persona. Instead, he navigated the delicate and potentially explosive questions with careful precision, repeatedly clarifying his deep respect for his wife's creativity and artistic vision, but also firmly asserting his inability to dismiss or ignore the clear impressions and observations he had formed from his firsthand involvement in those behind-the-scenes creative discussions. The tension in the room was almost unbearable, especially given the inescapable reality hanging heavy in the air. This was a husband speaking in a way that could potentially and profoundly undermine his wife's entire legal lawsuit.
Talking like this, me into my phone at 2 a.m, but largely via text and voice note. And I will be honest with you, that is not my biggest strength. I love being with people and being in in somebody's space and being face to face, and I feel like that's where I excel, and definitely fallen short at times in our text and voice note exchanges because there's so much to communicate and there's so much happening, and all that to say, I'm just really looking forward to spending time together, and I think that's going to really go a long way for our chemistry, which I believe is there, has been there from the start. So I was so damn excited when you wanted to do this film. I felt it in the room when we met, and yeah, I think it does come from the both of us being hardworking and having a vision and not settling.
Following the seismic impact of Reynolds' testimony, the legal spotlight swung back sharply to the new evidence presented by Baldoni's legal team, specifically focusing on the alleged digital anomalies uncovered by forensic analysis. The court turned its attention to the technical details, the cold, hard data that could potentially unravel the entire fabric of Lively's claims. Baldoni's forensic experts, meticulously examining the metadata of multiple files submitted by Lively's team, claimed to have unearthed telltale inconsistencies that suggested a troubling pattern of potential data manipulation. Some of the email messages that Lively purportedly sent to Baldoni at specific times, passionately objecting to comedic flourishes and flamboyant fashion choices, appeared, according to the forensic analysis, to have been created or significantly modified at a later date, raising serious questions about their authenticity and timeline. Even more damaging, a few of these allegedly altered messages included explicit references to developments and decisions that, according to official production calendars and timelines, had not yet occurred on the dates the emails were purportedly sent. This wasn't just a matter of differing interpretations or subjective recollections. This was concrete, technical proof presented in the stark language of digital forensics that cast a deep shadow of doubt over the veracity of key pieces of evidence presented by Lively. The lawsuit, which had previously hinged largely on a he said, she said narrative of conflicting creative visions, now entered a dramatically different and far more perilous dimension. The focus shifted from subjective interpretations of artistic intent to the cold, hard realm of tangible, potentially manipulated technical proof. Depending on how the court ultimately interpreted and weighed this forensic evidence, the entire trajectory of the lawsuit and the reputations of those involved could be irrevocably altered.
Always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I mean, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh, really? Because I just have one on my list. I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, wait, who? And I was like, think of someone. Bob Newhart. I don't know.
The immediate aftermath of Ryan Reynolds' bombshell testimony was nothing short of explosive. Ryan Reynolds turns on Blake Lively, screamed the tabloid headlines, igniting a firestorm of media coverage and social media frenzy. Hollywood gossip networks went into overdrive, dissecting every nuance of Reynolds' words, every flicker of emotion on Lively's face during the proceedings. Many fans who had long idolized the couple's seemingly unbreakable bond felt deeply torn, shocked, and bewildered to witness their fairy tale romance devolve into such a public and messy legal dispute. Justin Baldoni, emerging from the courtroom after Reynolds' testimony, expressed a tone of measured relief in a brief hallway interview, reiterating that he took no pleasure in seeing a marital rift play out in such a public forum, but emphasizing that Reynolds' unexpected honesty had unequivocally confirmed what Baldoni had insisted from the very beginning. The comedic elements in It Ends With Us were not a unilateral imposition from his side, but rather arose from collaborative discussions in which Lively, at least initially, was an active and enthusiastic participant. Disney, having thrown its considerable legal and corporate might behind Baldoni from the outset, likely breathed a collective sigh of relief, perhaps seeing Reynolds' testimony as a crucial validation of their strategic alignment. But amidst the legal and professional ramifications, the most burning question in the court of public opinion remained intensely personal. What about Blake and Ryan? Were they living separately? Was this public courtroom battle merely the tip of a much deeper personal iceberg, the beginning of the end for Hollywood's golden couple? Whispers of separation and a fractured relationship rapidly filled the gossip columns, fueling intense speculation about the future of their marriage. Blake Lively, characteristically composed in public, remained publicly silent in the immediate aftermath, offering no official statement or response to her husband's testimony. However, sources close to Lively, speaking anonymously, described her as deeply shaken and profoundly disappointed, reportedly feeling a profound sense of betrayal that Reynolds had not only failed to align himself with her narrative, but had actively offered courtroom testimony that appeared to directly contradict and undermine her core legal claims. If she wholeheartedly and genuinely believed that Baldoni had overshadowed her creative vision, minimized her contributions, and twisted her initial comedic suggestions out of context, then Reynolds' testimony must have felt like a devastating personal and professional blow. Conversely, if the forensic evidence of potential data manipulation was as compelling and credible as Baldoni's team presented it to be, perhaps Reynolds felt he had no ethical alternative but to speak candidly and truthfully under oath, regardless of the immense personal cost. The legal battle had irrevocably morphed into a deeply personal drama, a high-stakes spectacle playing out under the relentless glare of the Hollywood spotlight, leaving the future of both the lawsuit and the marriage itself hanging precariously in the balance.
And I'm excited to have a creative partner in that with you. And it's just really exciting. There's so much more to say. There's so much I want to say. Oh, and there's one thing that I do need to say, which is, I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those that, I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be or will be, and hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her. I mean, that's what I want. And so there's been no hesitancy with me sending you the final draft file. I am totally fine with that. The only reason I didn't send it today was because I was trying to implement and add your notes into my working draft, which is already, like, I'm all over that draft right now. So there's a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be collated pages. And I just haven't had a chance to send it to you.
The courtroom showdown between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, dramatically amplified by the unexpected and deeply personal testimony of Ryan Reynolds, is far from over. It has become a stark and cautionary tale, a real-life Hollywood drama unfolding in real time, exposing the raw complexities of creative clashes, the brutal realities of legal maneuvering, and the agonizingly blurry lines between personal loyalty and professional truth in an industry built on carefully constructed facades. Did Ryan Reynolds' seemingly damning testimony effectively seal Blake Lively's legal fate, delivering a fatal blow to her lawsuit, or is his account merely one piece of a much larger, more intricate, and still unraveling Hollywood puzzle? A single perspective in a multifaceted drama where the full truth remains frustratingly elusive, as Hollywood and millions of captivated viewers around the globe hold their breath, anxiously awaiting the next court date and the next inevitable twist in this unfolding saga. One thing has become undeniably clear: the meticulously crafted, picture-perfect image of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, once the epitome of Hollywood couple goals, has been irrevocably and perhaps irreparably altered, and the fate of It Ends With Us, a film adaptation that began with such high hopes and fervent anticipation, now hangs precariously in the balance, a stark and sobering reminder of how quickly even the most promising Hollywood dreams can unravel, collapsing under the crushing weight of legal scrutiny, conflicting narratives, and the devastating impact of new evidence that changes everything.